What's going on, guys? It's WX, and today I'm going to be talking about the teams that I think could surprise people at Worlds. If you enjoyed today's video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. Thanks, guys. Now let's get into the video. Alright, guys, as you can see, things are getting pretty serious today. I have the slideshow back out. We've seen this once before, so you know it's going to be the real deal today. Professional level RLCS talk video. Also, guys, trust me, you're not going to want to miss my dark horse picks at the end of the video. But anyway, guys, how we're going to go through this today. First, I will start with teams that could be surprising, but in a bad way. I know that might sound weird, but yeah, that's going to be the first part. And then the second part, teams that I could see surpassing expectations. And then the third part, teams who I do not see doing anything surprising. The fourth part, organizing the potentially surprising teams. And the fifth part, picking the dark horses to win Worlds. All right, so part one, teams who could surprise us in a bad way. Let's look at who we got first. And that is G2 Esports. I know that this might sound surprising, but I'll just explain everything here. So my main reasoning, we expect to see this team do well. Most people likely have them in their top 4 or better at Worlds. If they were to somehow miss top 8, it would certainly be seen as disappointing for them. You could even say that it would be a poor result for them if they missed top 4 as well. Obviously, top 8 is a good result for almost any team, including G2. Obviously, if you make a top 8 at a LAN, it's a really good result. But for G2, they've been in every grand final this season, including the LANs. So you could say that not making top 4 is a poor result for G2. So what I'm saying is here, if you're in this part of the video, if you're in the part where I'm talking about it's surprising if you don't do well, like it's surprising in a bad way, it means you're one of the best teams in the world. Actually, it means you're one of the 3 best teams in the world. And it just basically means that your expectations are so high that if you do what would be considered really, really well for any other team, it would be considered a poor result for you. And that brings me to the next team that is in this first part, and that is Team Falcons. Main reasoning, most people expect this team to do very well at Worlds. Another favorite. If they were to miss out on making top 8, it would be shocking. Missing top 4 like G2 could be seen as a poor result for them, and I think that is fair. I don't know anybody who really wouldn't have Falcons in their top 4, along with G2 and the next team that I have. Let's go to the next team, and that is Gentlemates Alpine. Main reasoning, they are a favorite to win Worlds, simply too good to miss top 8. If they were to miss top 8, it would be very surprising. Making top 4 is pretty much the expectation for this team, along with G2 and Falcons, like I was saying. So basically, guys, this first part, actually I explain it in the next slide, I believe. Part 1, final thoughts. G2, Falcons, and Gentlemates are the main favorites to win Worlds. I think you guys would very likely agree with that. They are the teams to beat and the most feared teams in RLCS right now. Anything below a top 4 finish could have good reasoning to be seen as disappointing for these teams, but it goes to show how good they all are. So basically, if you were in the first part of the video, if you're one of the 3 teams, G2, Falcons, Gentlemates, it just means that if you don't do super, super well, like literally top 4, it could be seen as surprising to people, which I think is fair. All those teams, I think, right now are considered the 3 best teams in the world. At least in my opinion, I don't know if you guys would agree, but I think that G2, Falcons, and Gentlemates are the 3 best teams in the world currently. But anyway, let's go on to part 2, and that is teams that I could see surpassing expectations. And this is kind of the juicy part of the video. And this right here is all just gonna be in alphabetical order, okay? This isn't in order. This isn't like in order of the teams that I think have the most chance of surpassing expectations. I do that later on in the video, and then that's when I also go on to pick my dark horses. This is just alphabetical order. Teams that I can see surpassing expectations, and some of these teams might surprise you. So first, we have Team BDS, Jolly, Exotic, and Monkey Moon. They are here because top 8 is probably the expected result for them, but they can 100% do better than that. Don't forget about those EU regional victories. They have everything they need to perform well, and top 4 or better is very possible for this team. Also, I hope you guys enjoy how robotic it sounds, me reading off these slides for the whole entire video. All right, and then next up, I have Furia. And they are here because top 8 is the most likely result for them at Worlds. They have a shot at making top 4. They already have once. They did that in London, but I just don't know if they'll do that again. They have the talent to beat almost anyone, but can they be consistent? Them making top 4 again is not impossible, and I do believe that. I think that Furia can make top 4 again, but I do also think that they played a Vitality team that was not... It just wasn't the normal Vitality that you're used to seeing, and I don't think that Furia will make top 4 again. I think that they have the talent to do it, but I don't think they're consistent enough, and I don't think they'll do it at Worlds. If it was another LAN maybe, but it's Worlds, I think there's too much pressure. I think there's too many other good teams. I don't think Furia will make top 4 again. But they're on this list because I do think that they have a chance to beat their expectations, which is another top 8, I would say. I don't think anyone expects them to make a top 4, but they can do it. They have done it, and I think they can do it again. But do I think they'll do it? Not necessarily. All right, next up, we have Gen G. I think this is understandable, guys. I mean, we've been waiting all season to see what this team can do. Their expectation, I have top 8 as their expectation. It says right there, top 8 is their most likely result. That's why they're here. This team has yet to reach their peak on LAN, and in general, at least in my opinion, top 4 or better is possible for them. If they can beat G2, they can beat anyone. The pieces are there. So you have apparently Jack Chronic first killer on the same team. I just want to know, guys, how is this team, like, I'm not even kidding. I know that I talk a lot about Gen G and all my, well, I guess I've only made like one other true RLCS video, I guess. There's just no reason to me that this team hasn't made a top 4 to land. Like, there's truly not. I actually like this team, they can beat G2. They've done it before. So in theory, I mean, G2 won a major. They should be able to also win a major. I know that it's not that simple. Like, it's never that simple. That's like say that the Vikings beat the Chiefs and then everyone's like, oh, the Vikings are going to win the Super Bowl. That's obviously not how it works. But what I'm saying is the potential is there for this team. Everyone knows it. At the beginning of the season, most people, actually not most people, it was like 50-50, but a lot of people thought that this was going to be the clear best team in NA. It's just all there. It's just so weird to me. It really is so weird to me that they haven't made a top 4 when you think about it. I feel like outside of like G2, Gentlemates, and Falcons, Gen G is like right there. Like, they're right there with the rest. So is like BDS. So is a lot of other teams I'll talk about to come on this list. I just don't know what Gen G's issue's been. I don't know if it's a confidence thing on LAN. I don't know if they get in their own heads or something, but there's no reason for First Killer, Chronic, and Appjack to not be a top 4 team. They can do so much better than top 8. They are a team that can win Worlds. And obviously they've made top 8 at every LAN so far. That's solid, but like for Gen G, we know they can do better than that. We know they're capable of more than that. But anyway, before I keep running in circles just saying the same thing over and over, Karmine Corp. There's not a lot I have to say about this. I think this is pretty self-explanatory. So obviously they missed the last major. So literally, they basically have no expectations. Like, people expect them to do well. I'd say most people expect them to make top 8. But at the same time, you missed a major. You don't really have any expectations. So you're going to surpass them. Almost no matter what. As Karmine Corp, you're almost going to guaranteed pass your expectations. And my main reasoning, they're here because they missed Major 2, like I was just talking about. We know what they can do. They literally won all 3 regionals and split 1 in EU. The talent is clearly there. Thinking they can win the whole thing is not crazy to believe. And I do think that. I think that if you believe that Karmine can win Worlds, in fact, I think that if you have Karmine as like a top 4 team at Worlds, I don't think it's a crazy thing to think. Like, even though they missed the whole entire last major, I don't think that's a crazy take. I think that thinking that Karmine can win Worlds, I don't know, I just think it's not a crazy thing to think. I think it's a pretty logical take. Obviously, missing a whole major is a pretty big deal. They missed a regional 2 in EU, and that's obviously, like, that just should not happen. A team like Karmine Corp, that I don't care what the excuses are, that should never, ever happen. It just should never happen. And their consequence was missing a major. They did it themselves, and I don't care what anybody says. They did it themselves, but I don't think that I just don't think that you can take away from Karmine and say that they can't win Worlds. Like, I think it's just winning regionals in EU. I don't care when they did it. They did it this season. They can win Worlds. They do have it in them. Will they do it? I don't know. Are they going to have confidence problems? I don't know. But if Karmine comes out playing at the level that they can win Worlds. All right, now moving on to OG Esports. This is Calm, Jnaps, and Noel. You guys know all about this team, and you might think it's weird that I have them on this list. You might be like, oh, well, they haven't done anything impressive. Why do you think they're going to surpass their expectations? And that's why. Because they haven't done anything impressive. They are here because they have missed top 8 and went 1-3 at both majors. I believe this team has the ability to make top 8 at Worlds. They need to find their online form on LAN. We know they can do better than 1-3. They need to beat teams who they should be beating, Team Secret. Going 2-3 would be exceeding expectations at this point. And I'm not going to say that, though. I'm not going to say that 2-3 is going to be exceeding expectations in my book. If you don't make top 8, if I don't think that you can make top 8, basically, you're not going to be on this list. That's my opinion. Or at least that's what I did. I basically thought that if I don't see you making top 8, you're not going to be on this list. Or if I don't think you have a chance to make top 8, you're not going to be on this list. But I do think OG can make top 8. OG consistently played well in NA. I just don't know what the deal is on LAN. They just can't do it. They just can't do it. They lose to just teams they should not lose to. And I know that Team Secret isn't a bad loss. That's like the main one that comes to my head from the last LAN. But they really just shouldn't have lost that series. Like Team Secret guys, they're a good team. They're the 2 seed from Sam. Obviously, they are a good team. But I just think OG is better. Like, OG should be winning that series. That's my opinion. And I think OG just lost control of that series, and OG just comes out flat at every LAN. At least there's been 2 so far. 2 is not a huge like sample to take out of, a huge sample size to take out of, but they've just came out flat twice in a row now, and it's just so weird because you would think like any other team that's gone 1-3 at both LANs, it's like there's no way they have a chance to make top 8. But OG, we know what their ceiling can be, and it's way, way higher than 1-3 at Worlds. And I don't think that it's as, like, guys, OG's not winning Worlds. It's in my opinion, it's not going to happen. Could they make top 4? I don't think so. But top 8, they can make top 8. I do think they can make top 8. I just have them here, guys, because they've gone 1-3 at both majors. They're better than that. Just flat out, they're better than that. Like, at their ceiling, they can do better than 1-3. But anyway, next, SSG. Main reasoning, top 8, in my opinion, is their most likely result at Worlds. I believe that this team actually has it in them to make top 4. They are one of the most consistent teams in the world. They always seem to play well. Can they play at their highest level all throughout Worlds? If they can, watch out. I don't know, I think it's a pretty basic take to say that top 8 is SSG's expected outcome at Worlds. I think a lot of people would say that, but it's the question of, can they outdo that? Can they pass their expectation of top 8? I think they can. But I also think, I would say that top 4 is probably their ceiling. I don't know. I talk about it more later on in this video, but I do think that top 8 is probably their expectation. We'll just wait to talk about SSG more later on in the video because it covers up a lot more of my reasoning for this. But anyway, next up is Team Vitality. I don't know how you can consider, this team's just so weird because they're so consistent. They're always so good. But I can't put them in the favorites with G2, Gentlemates, and Falcons. It just can't happen. They haven't been that good. They've been good, obviously, but not that good. Yeah, this team was just hard because it's like, oh, surprising. What do they do to be surprising? It's closer to the top teams like G2, Gentlemates, and Falcons, in my opinion, because it's like if they miss top 8, everyone would be shocked. But if they won the whole thing, everyone would also be kind of surprised. But if they like placed top 4 to 8, if like Vitality gets 4th, no one's gonna be like, oh, that's surprising. Like that's almost, it's not expected, but it's not surprising. So it's like, what do you do with Vitality? Main reasoning for Vitality, do I really need to explain this? I guess I just did. They won Worlds last year, very consistent. They have Zen. Top 8 or top 4 are, in my opinion, their expected results. That's why they're here. Which, me putting top 8 or top 4 really made this difficult too, because it was like, if I said top 8, I could say top 4 is a surprising result, but at the same time, top 4 is not a surprising result for Vitality. I just don't know how to explain it, but they aren't on that same level where I can be like, oh, if they don't get top 4, it's a disappointing result. Like, because for Vitality, that's not true. They're like they're like the kings of the teams that I'll talk about in this whole entire list, in my opinion. But they're just not quite at that level of the G2s, the Gentlemates, and the Falcons. But anyway, Part 2, final thoughts. BDS, Furia, Gen.G, K-Corp, OG, SSG, and Vitality can all outperform their expectations at Worlds. At least I think so. And you guys may be able to agree with that. I don't know. Obviously, none of this is objective stuff. Like everyone, you make your own opinion. This isn't the Rocket League World Championship Holy Bible. But anyway, Part 3, teams that I do not see surpassing expectations. So this is kind of just the teams that were left in this is basically as all the teams from my power rankings video, but just like, obviously it's different because it's teams that I see being surprising at Worlds and like expectations and whatnot. But anyway, let's look at this. We got Team Secret. So main reasoning, I expect them to go 2 and 3 or worse and can't see them doing better than this. They did beat OG in London, but I think OG looked awful. There is probably an incredibly small chance for them to make top 8, but I just don't see it. 2 and 3 is not an expectation to be ashamed of, at least for Team Secret. So the only difference, guys, between them and OG was that I see a small, tiny sliver of a chance for OG to make top 8. I don't see that same small sliver of a chance for Team Secret to make top 8. That's the only reason that Team Secret wasn't in the could surpass expectations. They're the closest team. They're like on the edge. They're literally like, they were really close. Like if I could see them making top 8, then they would have been with OG. They would have been like same category as OG. I know it might sound crazy because I know that Team Secret did beat OG in London, but I just think OG was playing so bad. And I do think OG is the better team. Like I think that if they played like 10 series against each other, I think that OG would probably take 6. I think that Team Secret and OG are just extremely close overall, but I just, for some reason, based on what I saw in NA online versus what I saw of Team Secret online, I do think that OG's potential is a little bit higher. So that's why they are on the don't see them being surprising or surpassing expectations. Because I really just don't see them doing better than 2 and 3. But they are so close to like the same exact situation as OG is in. Anyway, next up we have Team Power. So main reasoning, they love round 5. That is their expectation, which is also 2 and 3. I really want to see this team make top 8, and there is a chance of that happening, but I'd probably have to get a lobotomy to predict that happening. They have to be in their oxygen beating form, and I don't think they will be, at least not consistently. They have been impressive this year, especially for an OCE team, and in my opinion, they are a top 12 team at Worlds, which is a pretty big deal. When you think about it, especially for an OCE team, that's pretty solid. Power and Team Secret pretty much have like the same odds in my opinion to make top 8. It's just so weird because Power is a team that like, even if Oxygen guys wasn't playing well, here's the difference. Let me try to explain this really quick. So OG not playing well is worse than Oxygen not playing well. Team Secret beat not playing well OG. I think that Power beating Oxygen not playing well is more impressive than Team Secret beating OG not playing well. Which means to me that if Power plays at that level where they are beating Oxygen, they might have a actual larger chance than Team Secret to make top 8. Which sounds insane because I notice hearing OCE team, hearing top 8 in the same sentence sounds crazy these days. I do think that Power, if they can find that top gear, they might be able to make top 8. I just think it's extremely unlikely, and I see them going 2 and 3. I don't see them doing better than 2 and 3. Same with Team Secret. Team Secret and Power are just really, really close to being in that could surpass expectations category, but I just don't see it. I just don't see those teams making top 8. And obviously I don't see OG making top 8, but I just think that their chance is a little bit bigger and a little bit better than Power and Team Secrets. So OG made the could surpass expectations list. Next up, this is actually maybe the hardest team for me to predict. It's anything. It's just we haven't seen them play before. We know how good Nupo is. We know how good Macio and Venom are too, at least in my opinion. I think they're both really good players as well alongside Nupo. So it's just like, what are we gonna get out of this team? Nobody knows. Like literally anything is possible. Did you guys get the joke? I said anything 3 times so that you would hopefully catch on to the joke. But anyway, main reasoning, I believe that 1 and 3 or 2 and 3 is their expected finish at Worlds. I can't see them make top 8, but there could be a tiny chance. They're almost in the same category as Power and Team Secret, but because we haven't seen them play on LAN, I can't put them at the same level as Power and Team Secret. But I really do think, guys, I think that anything probably has a way higher ceiling than people are giving them credit for. I think people have forgot how good Nupo is. I think people don't really realize how good Macio and Venom are too, especially Venom. I remember Venom being really good. I honestly haven't watched him in a little while, but I remember him specifically last season, honestly, being really good. So I don't really know what to expect of this team. But if they were to be like the team that just goes on a surprising run to make top 8, I mean, guys, this team's chance to make top 8 just because of their potential ceiling, I think could be just as good as OG's, or really close. I think it could be closer, honestly, than Team Secret and Powers, but at the same time, they couldn't make London over Twisted Minds, which was my next point, who went 1 and 3 at London. So it's just like, what are we gonna get out of anything? I don't think they have a great chance to make top 8. It's there, just like Power and Team Secret, it's there for them too, but it's just less than 1%. Let's put it that way. And for OG, maybe it's 2%. I don't know. My last 2 points, they have a lot of talent, but I don't think it'll matter against the other LAN teams that I've discussed so far. Just like, I think I was just talking about that actually. I just don't think that they stack up quite as strongly as the other teams do. I don't think they are quite on the same level either. I think, I don't know. And they have the best logo in RLCS. Which is completely irrelevant, but I love that, man. Just the little octane with the question mark over it. Peak. Next up, we have Pioneers. And guys, these last 3 teams here are honestly where it starts to get a little bit shaky. This is where these teams just flat out no chance to make top 8, which isn't the nicest thing to say, I know, but they really just don't have a chance to make top 8. None of these next 3 teams, including Pioneers that I'm about to talk about, can make top 8. Like, it just literally cannot happen. Like, I really don't think it can possibly happen. But anyway, main reasoning, OCE number 2 seed just never does well. I've heard Gibbs talk about it a million times. I've seen it happen a million times. It just never happens. They just never do well. And then 1 and 3 is the most likely result for them. Don't see them out doing this. In fact, the only reason I see them doing 1 and 3 is because, and not 0 and 3, is because I think they will probably beat Gladiators or Limitless, which is who, if you didn't put it together already, is who is behind Pioneers. But anyway, at least Power has an OCE friend on LAN, which is a good thing. I mean, they need to have a friend on LAN. And they could be better off as Power cheerleaders. I think that's a fair take. Want to see them make top 8, but I honestly don't think it's possible. Like I was saying, Pioneers, top 8's not going to happen. 2 and 3 would be a very good result for them. 2 and 3 would be exceeding expectations for them. But like I said, I can't put them on this list because I didn't want to put teams that I can't see making top 8 as surpassing their expectations in the surpassing expectations category. But anyway, next up, we have Gladiators. Main reasoning, better luck next time. 0 and 3 or 1 and 3 is expected result. Don't see them out doing this. They're an APAC team, which obviously, guys, that's not supposed to be like a shot at them, but at the same time, like, it's just the reality of the situation. APAC and SSA are not on the same level as the other regions, not even OCE, in my opinion. They're actually a dangerous team for an APAC team. They're a dangerous team. They're the most dangerous APAC team. That's probably why they made LAN from APAC. But anyway, APAC has come a long way. They might be on the same level or arguably better than Pioneers. I think that's not a crazy take. I honestly could see Gladiators beating Pioneers. I think Pioneers and Gladiators, guys, basing on what I saw from Gladiators, and based on what I saw from Pioneers, they might legitimately be the same level. Like, they really might be like the same level, which is saying a lot. For an APAC team, that's saying a lot. Because OCE, I know, guys, OCE's not done anything spectacular. Like, OCE is a better region overall than APAC. Like, obviously, at least in my opinion. So to see Gladiators be close to equal, in my opinion, with the OCE number 2 seed, even though the OCE number 2 seed never does well, that's a pretty solid thing to beat. And then our last team that I just don't see doing anything surprising at LAN, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's Limitless. Better luck next time. They are just not on the same level as the other 15 teams. They're still a pro team, and I want to see them do well, but I just don't see them outdoing their expectations. I'd say 0 and 3 is their expectation, but who knows what'll happen. I am just really happy that there's SSA at LAN. I'm really happy that SSA gets a spot, and I'm glad that it's not, what was it even? VK Salon, or VK Salon, the GOAT, Team Mobula, right? Is that what it was last time? Limitless, I'm glad to see them instead of Team Mobula. I'm glad to see a real SSA team there. Maybe I don't actually see some people. I feel like I've seen people before talk about how like, there are just sometimes people that say SSA deserves a spot because they can compete with the other 15 teams. But the reality is SSA deserves a spot so that they can get better with the other 15 teams. They need the practice with the national teams or with the international teams because they have to catch up some way, and they can't when they're playing against themselves all the time, obviously. So they need this international LAN, guys. These international LANs for SSA will be what makes their region better. It's going to take a long time, but think about where APAC is now. It'll happen for SSA too, I'm sure. But expecting SSA to come out and like compete, like, and I'm not kidding when I say compete, like even compete with the other 15 teams is kind of crazy to think, and it's not fair. It's not fair to put big expectations on Limitless. It's really not. And I want to see those guys do well. I would love to see them take a series. That'd be insane. They just need time to catch up. They'll get there. They will get there eventually, but yeah, there's just no reason to be putting excess expectations on Limitless. Part 3, final thoughts. I just don't see these teams, Secret, Power, Anything, Pioneers, Gladiators, or Limitless, exceeding their expectations. Some do have a significantly higher chance of exceeding their expectations though, with teams like Secret, Power, and Anything leading that pack. The first 3 are much better than the last 3 in my opinion. What I mean by that, Secret, Power, and Anything are better than Pioneers, Gladiators, and Limitless. And that is because Secret, Power, and Anything have, well, Secret and Power for sure have proven more than the other teams, including Anything. But I think that Secret, Power, and Anything have a better overall chance of somehow, some way, maybe making top 8 compared to Pioneers, Gladiators, and Limitless, who just can't do it. I don't see any of these teams here making top 8, but guys, I apologize too. I know that this video, there's so many different parts to it, and honestly, it's kind of an obscure video idea, like making a video talking about teams that could be surprising, because obviously you have no idea what you're going to see at Worlds, and also, it's not even based off my power rankings, because you can't really base surprising factors off of power rankings, because it's more based off of potential on paper, and that's totally objective. Like, some people are going to think that like power, some people legitimately could make it, or anything. Like I was talking about, people could make a legitimate argument because of Nupo and how mechanical he is, like kind of like being the Mina Zen, honestly, that they could have a chance to make top 8, while someone else could be like, Anything didn't make LAN last time they went 1-3, or they lost to Twisted Minds, like they couldn't make it over Twisted Minds basically, and they'll just be like, oh, they're not even gonna they'll be lucky to go 2-3 or 1-3. And both opinions are totally valid. So it's just like, how do you, it's really, really hard to do this video, honestly, and do it in a way that feels like it has actual good evidence behind it. And honestly, I'm just trying to go the most off of my logic and what I've seen in RLCS so far this season. But anyway, part 4, organizing the potentially surprising teams. This is where things get fun. This is where we kind of start to like decide our dark horses. Well, we do that after this part, after part 4. We do that in part 5, and that's the final part, by the way. But part 4, we organize the potentially surprising teams. First up, OG Esports, number 7, Colin J. Naps Noli. And I'll go through this part a little bit quicker, guys, because I already talked a lot about these teams. Besides SSG, I think I go over them again, and I did want to talk, well, just reading my main reasoning, honestly, kind of closed my final thoughts, I feel like, on a lot of these teams. But anyway, main reasoning, they are expected to go 1-3 or 2-3, I'd say, but top 8 should be achievable for this team. Due to their past performances on LAN, top 8 seems unlikely for them. It is really disappointing how they have done so far when looking at their online performances compared to LAN. With all of this taken into consideration, they have the 7th and last best odds to outdo their expectations. Basically, OG guys, like I was talking about, they're closer, they're almost, honestly, not even almost, they're closer to the teams like Power, Anything, and Team Secret than they are to like Theria, BDS, obviously. Like they're like the gatekeeper between the 2 tiers of teams, I feel like. They're like the gatekeeper where like they're halfway between the level of teams that can make top 8 and make noise in top 8 and teams that just can't make top 8 or will likely not make top 8. OG just can't be above literally they just can't be above any of the teams that I have ahead of them here for odds to outperform their expectations or outdo their expectations. And to be honest, guys, I honestly, like I put up top, they are expected to go 1-3 or 2-3, I'd say. I expect OG to probably go 2-3 this time. I think going 1-3, 3 lands in a row, that would be embarrassing for that team, honestly, in my opinion. I know that might sound harsh, but really OG is better than that. I think they'll have a better performance at Worlds just because they'll be more locked in and whatnot, more time practicing, hopefully. Top 8, probably not gonna happen, but I do think they still have a better chance of making top 8 than any of the other teams I talked about behind them. So they're on this list. They're really close to the put the fries in the bag tier. Theria, top 8 is their expectation, and outdoing this again is not impossible. I feel like top 4 is unlikely for them, even though they have done it before, but because they have gotten top 4, they deserve to be here. 6th best odds of outdoing expectations at Worlds. I think that's fair. pretty self-explanatory. Honestly, all these slides are pretty helpful, just closing out all my thoughts, like I said. But Team Vitality, main reasoning, they're expected to make top 4 to 8, and that really threw me off. I love how they're the only team I put a range of numbers for. And I just struggle with numbers, guys. I'm sorry. They are expected to make top 4 to 8, which makes this difficult. This is like what I was talking about earlier. This is because surpassing expectations of placing top 4 to 8 is difficult to do. It would require a 1st to 3rd finish. Obviously, to place better than 4th, you have to do 1st to 3rd. Which is very hard to do. That's not just like, oh, I'm gonna go to LAN and like you're an elite team if you make 1st to 3rd, or if you make top 4, you're considered in my opinion, top 4 is like the golden standard, what you want to do at any LAN, including Worlds, and then obviously Grands and winning it. Duh, like that's what you want to do. Due to Vitality's expectations being so high, their chance of surpassing them is lower when compared to other teams with lower expectations like SSG. So you might see, obviously SSG hasn't been here yet. That means they're ahead of Vitality. That is because when your expectations are higher, how do I explain this? Okay, let's use an NBA example, okay? I don't know why, this is the first thing that came to my mind. So which one has a higher chance of happening? This would be high expectations. Let's say the Hornets, the Charlotte Hornets. Let's say 42 wins in a season's too high for them, which is embarrassing. But let's say, this isn't the best example. Let's just use Charlotte. We'll just use Charlotte because usually they're not very good. So the Charlotte Hornets, if you don't know who they are regularly one of the bottom teams in the NBA. So for them, it would be surpassing expectations if they were to get, for example, guys, this would be a really bad team. Let's just say 15 wins. Let's set it low. Okay, this would make sense. So the Charlotte Hornets getting 15 wins. Well, that would be surpassing expectations for them. Let's say the Celtics. Let's use the Celtics as an example. They just won the finals. So let's say the Celtics. And let's say, maybe I will use winning the finals, because winning the finals is basically, let's compare it to a 1st to 3rd finish in Rocket League. Obviously, okay, whatever. The Charlotte Hornets getting to that 15 wins, even though they're an extremely, extremely bad team and 15 wins isn't good, it would be considered surpassing their expectations if they got 15 wins. The Celtics would be considered surpassing or even reaching their expectations if they won the finals. If they did worse than winning the finals, a lot of people would probably say that they didn't reach their expectations, because that is really how good the Celtics are right now in the NBA. Obviously, one is a lot harder to do than the other. So like for the Hornets, let's say their chance of winning 15 games is like, let's just throw out a number. Say it's like 30% because they're really bad. And the chance of the Celtics winning the finals, just because obviously winning the finals is an extremely difficult thing to do, let's give it a 5% chance of happening. Even though the Celtics are the better team, the Celtics would be right here where Vitality is. Okay, I can't compare SSG to the Hornets. That's not even fair to SSG. But it's the fact of the matter. Basically, it is easier. It's a higher chance to do something that is easier to do. But when you're a worse team, no offense to SSG. Oh my God, dude, I just lost my train of thought. It's comparable in the way that if you have higher expectations, it's just lower chance of surpassing them. Like, it's just the way it is. When something is more difficult to do, you have a lower chance of accomplishing it. Even though Vitality's the better team, they have the higher expectations. So they're lower than SSG on this list right now because they have a lower chance of surpassing their expectations. This is a list of chance to surpass expectations, not who's the best team. It's a list of chance to pass expectations. Don't know if anything of what I just said made sense. I lost my train of thought about 700 different times. Haven't been in college classes since, it's summertime now. I haven't been in class since like May. So I've basically forgotten everything. Of comprehension skills, everything. It's all gone. I'm cooked. So hopefully what I was just talking about made sense to you guys. If it did, I mean, you don't need to go through any more comprehension classes. And then yeah, I talk about it more here. Vitality almost doesn't belong here because of how good they've consistently been since last season. Due to how difficult a top 1 to 3 finish could be, they are here. They have the 5th best odds to surpass their expectations due to how high they are. So you see what I mean? Like the Hornets getting 15 wins, even though it's really low expectations, it's a higher chance than like the Celtics winning the finals, which is comparable to like SSG has a higher chance to make top 4 versus Vitality's chance to make a 1st place finish, even though Vitality is the better overall team. You see what I'm saying? Like the odds to surpass expectations has no correlation to how good the team is, basically. All right, 4th, SSG. Top 8 is their expectation, and I truly believe they have a solid shot at top 4, depending on the matchup. So like obviously they played G2 at LAN, they did that last time, they lost. They just can't beat G2 in RLCS. I don't know why. They did beat G2 in Shift Summer League, but obviously that's just not, no one knows how hard the teams are trying that, really, to be fair. Like if SSG was given Furia, who they beat head-to-head in the top 8, there's a top 4 finish for them. If they were to beat them again head-to-head, which obviously that's like all these hypotheticals and stuff, but it's just the fact that it can happen. Like it literally just got proven there that it can happen. Surpassing their expectation at top 8 is possible. They missed Major 1 due to playing Gen G or G2 every single time. And then at Major 2, only lost to Team Falcons in Round 1 and G2 in the playoffs, who both happened to end up making the grand final. They also handled Furia at Major 2 as well. They beat Furia 3-1, I believe, in their best of 5. they went 3-1 through Swiss, and they only lost to Falcons, and they only lost to G2 again. Well, they lost to G2 in the playoffs. That is a very, very impressive run. That is an elite run for a lot of teams. They lost to they lost to the grand finalist. I think I actually talked about that. SSG are very underrated, have only lost to quality teams all season long, and are very consistent, have the 4th best chance of outdoing their expectations according to me. Oh, I already read that off. Yeah, they both ended up making the grand final. Falcons and G2 did, which were their only losses at the last LAN, which really tells you all you really need to know about SSG. If they only lose to the grand finalist of a LAN, who knows really what their ceiling is. I would say top 4 though is doable for them. All right, Team BDS at number 3. Their expectation is top 8, and they can certainly outdo this. Like they can outdo it. If you can win EU regionals, you can win worlds. They have the talent. Drawley is a beast. Monkey Moon is Monkey Moon, and Exotic is also very good. Also, guys, typing out those names like Monkey Moon, he's got all those zeros. Exotic's got his edgy capitalizing and lowercasing, and Drawley's got the double I's. I don't know, it's just really fun to type. I really enjoyed that. But anyway, I'd say they have a very solid shot to make top 4, and they also have a chance to win worlds. I do think that. I think that BDS has a chance to win worlds. They just have to be consistent and play how we know they can. They can't come out and play the way they did against Gentlemates in the playoffs when they got 4-0'd. Like that, just, what was that? 3rd best odds to outdo expectations. Because they're BDS. I mean, doing better than top 8, like getting a top 4 for BDS, let's compare it to SSG. Top 4 for BDS or top 4 for SSG, which one would you be more likely to bet your life on? I would say top 4 for BDS. Obviously, betting your life over Rocket League is not the best thing to do. Wouldn't recommend it. Gets the point across. All right, now Gen G. I could be totally wrong here, but I see this team having the 2nd best chance of outdoing their expectations. Top 8 is their expectation, but I could see a top 4. They have a shot to win worlds. I think that Gen G guys and BDS are extremely comparable. Obviously, BDS has had a better season, I think, in my opinion, because they've won regionals, and Gen G has too. Damn, it's actually really comparable. They're extremely comparable. I think that Gen G and BDS, honestly, you could flip either of them around. They're just really, really close, honestly, when you think about it. If this team plays to the best of their ability, who knows what they'll do? They are stacked with talent, and that's the difference right there. I think that overall, I think Gen G does have more talent than BDS. Obviously, BDS has Monkey Moon, but I don't think Monkey Moon is that same level as, like, I don't know, for example, I don't know. Monkey Moon guy is still extremely good player, but it's just not the same level as, like he's not, I don't know, man. Monkey Moon's obviously extremely good though, but I just don't think that, like, and Drawley's extremely good too. Drawley actually might be a top like 3 or 5 player in EU. They're just really, really close. But for some reason I can see Gen G just breaking through and getting that top 4 finally. It'll just depend, man. Gen G and BDS, just if they show up, they can win worlds. But Gen G and BDS, like that could be a grand final, Gen G versus BDS. But Gen G and BDS could also finish top 8, just like they have every single time. Again, if you can beat G2, you can beat anybody. They just need to get things smoothed out. And a team like Gen G will be grinding to do just that. At least that's my opinion. I think Abjack, like this is kind of off topic, but I've been watching Abjack's videos. He was like number 2. It was either 2 or 3 in the world in ones. He's been grinding. Like Abjack is that good at, like if Abjack's doing that good at ones, grinding that hard, I would say Chronic and First Killer, I mean, it'll just rub off on him probably. And I'm sure Gen G, man, they just all world-class players. I mean, they're just world-class players. I can see Gen G putting it together and putting on a masterclass at Worlds. I think Gen G's ceiling is yet to be reached too. I know I talked about that earlier, but yeah, 2nd best odds to outdo expectations. Gen G, if they put it together, watch out. All right, number 1. This is just so hard to do too, man, because Carmine could easily be pushed back like by OG, because we don't know what we're gonna see. But this is the thing, right? They have the best odds to outdo expectations because they basically have none. Like they literally basically have none. So it's like they pretty much have to be number 1 on this list because the odds of Carmine surpassing the expectation of like top 8, or even maybe you could say that top 8 it's like there's no universal opinion or objective opinion on this. Top 8 could be the expectation for Carmine because they haven't done anything impressive, because they missed a whole major. They missed major 2. So like you could argue that top 8 is their expectation, and if that's the case, or you could say that making top 8 is surpassing expectations for them if you're a Carmine hater. I don't know. It's just really hard to rate Carmine here. It's really hard to like say what outdoing expectations is for them because of that. Like that almost makes it sound like there is no expectation because you can't decide what the expectations are. It's like, what is the expectation? Are there any? I don't know. Yeah, most people, like I say here, would expect the top 8 from them. I see them having the best chance of outdoing their expectation. They not only could outdo top 8, but they can win worlds, and I do think that. I think they can win worlds. I think they have it in them. I mean, guys, it's Carmine Corp. We've seen what they can do. We've seen them win EU regionals, all 3 in the first split. They can do it. Let's just say their expectations are top 8. Just for the sake of making it easier, I think they'll outdo top 8. Carmine's just so hard to predict because they should have never missed a regional. Like it just shouldn't have been possible. Part 4, final thoughts. The teams we just discussed all have a real chance to outdo their expectations at Worlds. where teams were placed here has nothing to do with how good they are or who the best teams are. This is not a power rankings video for Worlds. We already did that. You can go back and watch that, by the way. It is difficult to theorize who has what odds to outdo their expectations when all of these teams are so close. This is just how it seems to me. For example, Carmine has the best chance to outdo their expectations because they basically just need top 8 or better after missing Major 2. Similar to SSG's expectations during Major 2 after missing Major 1. On the other hand, a team like Vitality has lower odds to outdo expectations because they have to get a first to third finish, which is much more difficult to do than a top 8. Earning Vitality a lower spot on the list than Carmine, even though Vitality has outperformed Carmine so far this season. If this made no sense, you're welcome. Alright guys, basically, on that list, if you were in the part 4, if you were just a team, okay. So the order of those teams there went your odds of outdoing your expectations. I just think Carmine has the highest chance of outdoing their expectations because they basically almost don't have any. If you miss a major, what are your expectations? You know what I mean? Anyway, part 5, Dark Horse picks. This is where it gets fun. Alright, so coming in, my first Dark Horse, we got Julian. Main reasoning, he has long, luscious hair just like me, and he's super fast. He loves giving cowboys rides, you know what I mean by that. Huh? He gives high fives for a Scooby snack. Number 2, we got Jorge, my second favorite Dark Horse. Main reasoning, he likes to run headfirst into brick walls, which makes him feel alive. I adopted this strat, works great before playing ranked, highly recommend it guys. His name is Jorge. He is super strong, reminds me of myself, and he eats rocks. And then number 3, Jason, took the headfirst into wall strategy too seriously. Wait. Oh, guys, I'm sorry. This is my horse presentation for school coming up. Totally real. Sorry. Wrong Dark Horses. They were Dark Horses, but literal Dark Horses. Okay, anyway. Ranking our Dark Horses. As you can see, it's starting out at number 4. I left a lot of teams out. I explained that. 4, Team BDS. Our number 4 overall Dark Horse pick to win Worlds. Also, guys, I gotta go back and look at Jason. Let's take another look. Does anyone know what kind of horse that is? Why does Jason make it so much better? Okay, guys, this video is gonna get deleted. I apologize. Okay, our number 4 overall Dark Horse pick to win Worlds, BDS. All right, Jinji, our number 3 overall Dark Horse pick to win Worlds. But guys, this is not First Killer. That's just Jason. Team Vitality. Alpha 54, Radosin, and Jason. I gotta lock in. Our number 2 overall Dark Horse pick to win Jason. Our number 2 overall Dark Horse pick to win Worlds. Alright, number 1, Carmine Corp. Atao, Ryzen, Vatira, our number 1 overall Dark Horse pick to win Worlds. Very cool. And I have a whole entire essay, guys, coming up right here. I can see it right here. It's in my preview screen on my beautiful presentation, little screen. Only I can see it because I'm special. I'm the presenter. So when I go to part 5, final thoughts, I believe I cover it. If I don't, I'll cover it. But yeah, guys, this year I'll actually go back over it because I got distracted by Jason. Team BDS, our number 4 overall Dark Horse pick to win Worlds. Jinji, and you noticed there's only 4 teams, like I said. And you might be like, why is Vitality not number 1? Because Jason. Vitality's not number 1 because Vitality isn't really even, they're closer, they're almost not even a Dark Horse because they, like, if Vitality won Worlds, I don't think it would really surprise people. So like I put Carmine because it'd be more surprising if they won Worlds. But I do think it's more likely for Vitality to win Worlds than Jinji and BDS, so I put them here. I don't even know my explanation here, how to make it make sense. I could never make it make sense even when I was thinking about it. But it's just kind of like, no matter what order you put it in, these teams are kind of just my Dark Horses, I guess. Even though Vitality, borderline not even a Dark Horse because they've been so consistent. Part 5, final thoughts. While there were 7 teams I discussed who I believe have a real chance to exceed their expectations at Worlds, I only picked 4 of them as Dark Horses. This is because to be a Dark Horse, you have to look like Jason. This is because to be a Dark Horse, they have to have the ability to win Worlds. With that being said, I was left with BDS, Jinji, Vitality, and KC, all teams who do have the ability to win Worlds. Not that the other teams don't, but I just can't see a world where OG, Furia, or SSG win Worlds. That's why I left out those teams, guys. That's why there was only 4, because OG, Furia, and SSG, be real, are they winning Worlds? I don't think so. But could Jinji, BDS, KC, and Vitality win Worlds? Definitely. I think the chance is there. I think it's a very real chance too. In fact, I would say that Jinji's chance to win Worlds, and this is a stretch, guys, this is gonna sound crazy, but I think Jinji's chance to win Worlds is higher than OG's chance. Actually, it's not even crazy to make top 4. Jinji winning Worlds is a higher chance than OG making top 4, in my opinion. But there is an argument for Fury and SSG. I just don't think it's realistic. So basically there, guys, Furia and SSG, is there a chance they can win Worlds? Probably. I don't think it's that realistic. I think SSG and Furia, like the talent is there, guys. They can win Worlds, but the chance is just so slim. Like, I just don't think, like, I really can't see it happening. The chance is there, it's just extremely slim. I don't see it happening. But if Furia could make a top 4, if SSG didn't run into G2 and SSG could beat Furia, both teams you would think have top 4 potential. Obviously Furia does, but SSG you would think has top 4 potential. And at that point, I mean, if you can make top 4, anything's possible. Anyway, for now, I will stick with my 4 dark horses, including Jason. Vitality was tough here too, because I'm not sure that they're even a dark horse, because of how well they always do. But I also can't have them as a favorite to win Worlds, as G2, Falcons, and Mates have all earned their own tier so far this season. And basically what I mean by that, there's G2, Falcons, and Gentle Mates, and then there's basically everybody else. I think everyone agrees with that. That's the end. Thanks for watching. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe, or Jason will come and bite you. You don't want that. You do not want that. So be sure to leave a like and subscribe, all right, guys? It's just to protect you from Jason biting you. Anyway, though, guys, seriously, thank you for watching. If you're still here right now, you are the GOAT. I appreciate you. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next one, guys. Peace out.